Welcome guys, this is Always back with another video on the channel. Today I'm bringing you another JetBrains product tutorial called PyCharm Professional. Now I'm going to be targeting Django developers. I've been working with Django for some time now, and I've been using PyCharm Professional for Django development, and must say that this is the best IDE that you can get for your Django development. So I'm going to walk you through what features available in PyCharm and also the support for Django. So it's a very advanced IDE. It gives you a lot of support for Django projects. So let's get started by looking at PyCharm general stuff in the IDE, what you can achieve, what are the features available, how do you use this IDE to do all kind of development. Mainly it's for Python, but you can have a support for JavaScript, which means that you have a support for Node.js and various other node based frameworks like Express.js or Quad.js. Also the front-end frameworks are supported here as well, like Angular or React. So let's get started by creating a new project. So we click on create new project. When you see PyCharm welcome window here, you can click on create new, and then here you can see it has a support for Django, Flask, Google App Engine, Pyramid, Scientific, Angular CLI, AngularJS, Bootstrap, React, and Node. There's a lot of projects that you can create. It'll get the boilerplate code and it will automatically set up the project for you. But we're going to target a Django developer, so I'm just going to click on Django and then click on create to create a new project. Now that project would be empty, so instead of creating a new project, I would like to open one of the projects that I've been working on actually. So I accidentally closed PyCharm, but let's open it up again. I'm going to use this project API. Now once I open the project, it automatically detects that this is a Django project and it configures itself in terms of Django. Just to show you, if you go to tools, here you can see it says run manage.py tasks. First, let me walk you through some of the common features of this IDE. So here we have a menu bar where I have a general functionality like creating a new project, new file, opening a project, closing a project, export, import. Settings is like whenever you configure PyCharm, you can export setting and then you can switch to a different computer and import that setting. PyCharm will become with the similar settings on the new computer. Okay, so that's just very self-explanatory. Don't have to go through this. Edit, we got some general editing features like cut, copy, paste, find. We got some really strong search support in terms of Django and pure Python as well, and also for JavaScript. So view gives you some of the viewing option like tool windows, turning on tools like terminal, project structure, or version control. We talk all about these in a second, but let me walk you through some of the main features. Navigation is great. Well, you can actually use these shortcut keys to make your workflow faster. I rarely touch a mouse when I'm developing with PyCharm because I've set up all the shortcut keys and it really helps to make your workflow faster. For example, if we want to switch the file, so if I want to go to authentication/model, I can switch the file like that. You can see, okay, I want to open up the terminal, I can open terminal or close terminal. So you can have like a explore, open, close, structure, open, close. So I'll walk you through how you can do a mouse-less development in PyCharm. So let's go to the code where you see a lot of commands that can be used, even like move statement down or move statement up, clean code. These are like a feature that provided by PyCharm which inspect your code and it does some cleanup. Okay, like locate duplicate. It means that if you have a duplicated functions in your code and there can be like into one place, then this can help you as well. So I don't want to go into details, but you can check out these features. Refactoring is very simple. If I go and refactor this user model, it's gonna search the whole Django project, and wherever its model is defined, it's gonna rename that there. And also, if any serializer needs an update, or view which is using this user object, it's gonna update the name there as well. So you can right click and then you go to refactor and say rename. So very strong support for Django. Tools got some Django specific tools like run manage.py. So if I click on that, it's gonna fetch all the Django commands, and I can just start by looking at, like, let's just say flush, which will flush the data from my database. Back to this, let's go to VCS, which is like a version control system. Git is supported, so you can do all this like push, pull, commit, and all the Git based commands that you can do visually. Okay, Windows is very self-explanatory. You can check it out. Now let's talk about some of the tool windows of PyCharm. So on the left you have a project which shows you all the files within your Django applications. Like here I have a clocking app, authentication, or HTTP. It's not an app, it's a folder, but you see the icon. It's pretty nice that it automatically detects what kind of files are in that folder, and it changes the icon automatically for you. So this is like a simple project explorer. I'm gonna open a structure, and for that I would like to go to views.py. So when I go to views.py, here I can see I can switch between these functions. I can just double click on it, and it's gonna take me to that line or that specific code there. So this is very common in many IDEs. It's there, so it's not really that PyCharm is only offering, but it's really good. It's really advanced. It reads your code very, very well. Okay, now the next window I would like to show you is version control. So when I use my shortcut key, and here I've got this version control tool window, but I've got some local changes. I don't have any, so if I go and change something like this, it's gonna detect that straight away, and it's gonna let me see that what are the local changes I have. Local changes means that it's gonna compare with my last commit on my Git repository and show me what are the changes that I've done so far. I can scroll through those changes by just looking at here. Here I've got the full-fledged log of my Git repository. I can see all the, merging, and this is like a graph that you can generate on a command line as well, but it's very intuitive here. Right click, you get some Git specific commands. You can switch branches, or you can revert commits, and there's a lot of things that are available here. To cover this IDE in one video, it's very hard, so it's going to be an overview of what you can achieve with PyCharm when working with Django projects or general web development. So this is like, if there's any pull requests, you need to log into GitHub, and it will basically let you accept or reject pull requests here, or pass a comment on that. So it's a really advanced version control system built into PyCharm. Okay, that's the version control system. Now, when working with Django, you need to have access to a database. Now, if you're using Postgres or any other DBMS, then you need to install specific software to be able to do queries. But we have a database tool window where basically you can have a support for all these data sources like Postgres, SQLite, Amazon, Redshift. We have support from MongoDB, MySQL, Oracle. So basically you click on one of these things, it'll give you the configuration window. You can type in the name and then the host, username, password, and we'll connect to it. Now to show you the demo, I'm connected to this Amazon clock-in. So I'm just going to double click on that, and then it's going to open databases. So this is the database. I can get to schema, public, table. So these are all the tables available here. Now, apart from this, we can right click and click on jump to console. Once I click on that, it's gonna ask me if I want to have a default. So I'll just use the default one. So here I've got some queries written already. So if I just want to run this query, I'm going to click on this play button. I usually use shortcut keys a lot. So it's going to ask me what query do I want to run. So we'll run first one. It makes a query to the database and gives me the data. So here we got services, we got connection to Amazon Postgres instance, and here we'll see the data here. I'm just quickly going to create a user. And I'm going to use the shortcut keys. I'm going to name that, let's just say, I'll type my email, always password. Okay, I got some issues because I have to connect to the proper database. So let me just do that. So I'm going to find a file, database. So here I would like to change this to false, and I'm going to connect to Amazon. I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to actually go and make a query on that now. So I'll do CSU. Nope, it's not really doing. I think I've got changes to make. Anyway, so you could do like queries right in your IDE, so you don't have to worry about making another software in use at time of developing. So you can be in one IDE, manipulate your database, make queries, create tables, or do whatever you want to do with your database. It has a full-fledged support for all kind of databases, and you can do queries, you can visualize the data, you can modify the data even. So if I actually go back to console, I'm gonna just do a query one more time, and then here I can use this plus button to add the data. So I can have like a default value, password is null, so we do some password. I'm gonna type, yeah, let's leave null, and let's click on the save button, and it's going to cause an error because I need to define some of the stuff. But just wanted to show you that what you can do here. So I'm gonna jump back to console, open console, and let's run a query again. Okay, now that different query I ran, and then now I'm getting some errors. It's showing me a lot of things that, you know, I could not actually add that because of I didn't provide the values. So yeah, it's good. Okay, so now this is a database that you can, you know, work with. Postgres, MongoDB, everything is here. Now I would like to go and do a git reset hard. And then we're gonna now we're gonna talk about how we can run the servers. So here right on top, when you open a Django project, it will automatically detect that and will make a configuration, so you can play or you can debug that. So if I can click on this play button, it's going to start the server, and it's running now, and I can access my database using one of the browser. There you go. So here it's running. So I'm using DRF actually, so I can do login. There you go. So here I can add users. So you can see it's running. Yeah, I want to show you that running is okay. You could use terminal to do Python manage run server command, but what's the benefit of a PyCharm? So benefits of a PyCharm is this debugger. I'm going to stop this by clicking on this rectangle red button. Let's click on this debug. Now it's debugging my code now. So I would like to go to one of the main view that I have here, which returns the date and time of a server. I'm going to do a breakpoint here by clicking on just here, and it just marks that as a breakpoint. Now I'm going to hit that API call. So usually when you are writing a backend API, for example, I'm writing this Django REST framework API. So what I have to do is to test this, I have to make an API call to this server, to this endpoint. Now the best feature that I can show you in PyCharm is this one. I've got some this HTTP client built into JetBrains product, where you can create this request.http file with the extension of the HTTP files, and which gives you this. So you can use a plain JavaScript here to do a calls to your backend server, and guess what? You don't have to switch your IDE. It's you right here. So here I've got this check server API, which has a breakpoint there. So let me just close some files so we don't really mess it up. Okay, I'm gonna click on this play button, and it's gonna ask me I want to run with local environment. I click on that, and it makes a call, and now my breakpoints triggers, and I have a full-fledged debugger built into PyCharm where I can see the request object coming in, and I can see the data is coming in. So it's pretty advanced. You can do a breakpoint, you can do a watcher as well. So I want to watch one of the value for every request, or every time this request comes in. Then I want to do like, let's just say, for example, I want to do just right click and then say add to watches. Once you click on that, it's gonna keep watching this. Anytime you make a call, it's gonna put this on the top. Okay, this is a full-fledged debugger that you can use. It's pretty amazing that you don't have to go and test your API without going out your IDE. So you're gonna stick to IDE, and you got everything that you need to work with your API built into this IDE. So that's the debugger. I'm just gonna stop all the processes. Okay, now one more thing that I would like to show you here in the request.http file is a full-fledged HTTP client built into PyCharm, where you can do a JavaScript and you can do a testing here. So here, if I go to view and I just disable the breakpoint and do a call again. Now, because I stopped the server, so I'm going to click here and start the server with debugger. Okay, let's run this call, and now you can see it's returning the response. It's got me this test, which is passed because I'm using this client.assert, and I'm checking if the response or status is equal to 200, then it's been passed. So I can write a full-fledged testing framework for my client, for my HTTP, for my API, right into this file, and it makes the life much easier. A lot of people use Postman, which is a great client to test your APIs, but I find that switching between this IDE to Postman, it's not really intuitive. I don't like it. So I can write this JavaScript here. I can do a test for my API. I can make any kind of calls. I have this data here, like a demo data that I can send and create user. For example, if I want to create this user, I've done this data. I've written this data here and then said that, okay, this is the URL that I'm gonna hit. So play with local, and then it says username with the username is already exists. Okay, that's fine. Let's verify that with our database. So I'm gonna go database, and that should be this database. So I'm going to go to console, use default, and I'm going to run the query for the first one, and that should return this data. Okay, it did return. It did not run the first one, so I'm gonna hover over this one, and I'm gonna make sure to select this one. There you go. So I've done the query, and I've got the data already there. So you can see I can modify data in the database right here in my IDE. So testing your API is great, and it does the job. Now I've shown you the debugging. It's very advanced for your Django projects, and it does work with Node and other frameworks as well. It's really great. It has a very strong support for Angular, React, and Ionic, whatever the front end framework that you have. Now I want to talk about a little bit some of the Django specific things. So if I go to tools, I go to run manage.py task, it's going to fetch all the commands available, so you don't really have to remember. I'm going to press Control space, and you can see that all of the CLI commands that are available in Django, I can scroll through these commands, and the good thing is it has a description what this command is going to do. For example, if I say checks the entire Django project for potential problems. Let's run this. Okay, it says finish 0, track file by older migration, no issues at all. That's good. My code is all good. So I'm gonna press Control Space, and then we can have some sort of like a DB shell. So it says runs the command line client for a specific database or default database if none is provided. That's good. We got dump data, so output the content of database as a fixture. So you can see that you don't really remember all these CLI commands sometimes, but you know, when I was using Django, I didn't know lots and lots of commands which were available in Django. And I went through this list and I figured out how many commands that I can use. So it's really, really helpful. Okay, we talked about debugging, we talked about running. Now, this is not a full-fledged PyCharm tutorial. There's a lot more that you can do, but I'll try to cover as much as I can in this video. So I'm going to click on this edit configuration. Now here, this is where you create a configuration for your server. So right now I've got this HTTP request. So these are all the requests that gets created automatically when you make HTTP call using JetBrains client. And then you can go back and click on this play button or use the shortcut keys to get the window up and then make a call. It's really, really easy. Django server is set up, so I click on that. Here you see we have a run browser option. If I trigger on, it says I'm going to run this and I'm going to start the debugger automatically when debugging. So it can debug JavaScript as well. Here I've got this Python interpreter settings, and then also some environment variables that automatically set up for me. Now, if I click on this plus button, you can see that you can do a configuration for pretty much all the famous and most used frameworks. Like you have a Node.js, you can add the configuration for that and it's gonna debug your Node applications as well. So JetBrains has many products, like WebStorm is mainly targeted for web development for the front end and Node, but PyCharm is mainly targeted for Python specific things. That is Django and Flask has a very strong support. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is version control into a bit details. Okay. Now, usually when you use the third-party version controls, because not many people know lots of commands that you want to do, this has a really nice feature of comparing code and doing merges. For example, I'm at this branch right now, so I'm at this company setup branch. For example, I would like to check my whole project to one of this previous code. So I'll right click here and I'm gonna say go to this, compare with local. Click on that and now it's gonna tell me what are the files that has been changed. Okay, so these are the files that have been changed since this commit. So I can right click and say show difference and it's gonna show me all the differences that was changed. So in this file I added this facility serializer since that commit. And you can click on these two arrows that will switch the code from one to second side or other side. Very strong support for merging and fixing errors automatically and suggesting the best coding practices. I don't know how to do it, but it's really, really great. Okay, that's what you're gonna have to explore this yourself, because it has lots and lots of features like cherry picking from any commit that you can do. Now, one thing I want to show you is creating some diagrams. So for example, if I go to this authentication, right click, all the way down there is a diagram option and I can click on this show diagram pop-up. Click on that and it's asking me if I want to create a JavaScript module dependency or Python, but the cool thing is it has a Django model dependency diagram. Click on that and it's going to read my code and it's going to show me the pop-up of Django model. I think it didn't show, but let me just try again. I'm going to use this show diagram instead of that. So let's just use this, actually not this one. So show diagram and Python diagram. Okay, so here you can see, I'm gonna try zooming into it. So you can see that, it created a whole Python diagram, how the classes are structured. It's like a full object-oriented UML diagram that you can visualize. It's really, really nice. And now here you can trigger on the details as well. So I'm gonna try creating a full diagram. I'm gonna use Django dependency. For some reason, there is a problem with their creating a diagram for Django, but it's been working very well for me. But you can see that you can create diagrams and visualize how your model is looking. I'm gonna try going to models.py file for setup. Okay, let me right click, diagram, show diagram. Django dependency doesn't work, so we're gonna use this Python class diagram. There you go. So you got the details there as well. There you go. So here I've got the full-fledged details of all the classes and what functions they have. It's really, really nice. Okay, now in terms of configuring this IDE into your mouseless development. For example, anything I want to do, I can do without a mouse with the shortcut keys. For example, I would like to go to database, so I can go to Debugger or database with this, and I can, open up anything. Command control, it will open up this full authentication table for me. So you can set up the configuration for shortcut keys are here. So if you go to PyCharm preference on Windows, you're gonna go to settings. Here you got the key map tool window. So I've set up according to my liking. You can set it up. You can pretty much configure anything that you can do here in this IDE editor actions that you can modify. But by default, they provide lots of shortcut keys, but it takes time to get used to it. Okay, and this is really, really good. I'm gonna take you to plugin section. So plugins is something that you can install. For example, PyCharm Professional has a support for .ignore file, which you can see I've already installed this. So I can, have a support for .ignore file and it automatically reads it. Now we got a Vue.js. So if you're working on a Vue.js project, you install this plugin and then you will have a very strong support working with Vue.js project. Node.js you can see already installed. We got Flutter support. We got there's a lot of frameworks that are supported here, and it's really, really good. So this is what I want to show you. You can customize it and then expand its functionality by installing plugins. Language frameworks. So you can go to language specific settings that you want to probably have. So here was the Django, and a lot of settings are available for different types of programming languages. At the bottom, it shows me a lot of information that you need to see. Sometimes you need to see what are the branches you are at and what are the quick way of switching branches, and where is the repository sitting. It's on a GitHub. You can see here. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to explore this because it's really, really huge IDE that provides a lot of functionality. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Probably show you the bookmarks. So you can do a toggle bookmark. So for example, here's a tick mark here. Now, for example, if I close this file and I would like to go back to this bookmark, so navigate, bookmark, show bookmarks, and here's one bookmark, and click on that, and it takes me right through the code. So sometimes you're switching to the files, you want to go back to that specific line, you can bookmark it, and there's a lot of shortcut keys for that as well. Okay, that's it for this video, guys, and obviously this is not a free version of PyCharm. There's a free version of PyCharm available and a paid one. So these features you will find in the paid one only, but the free one, it's pretty good for the pure PyCharm, but it doesn't have a Django support. Okay, so that's about it. Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked the video, give this video a thumbs up and then subscribe to the channel. I'll talk to you guys in the next one.